Welcome to the channel Shadows in the Night. The entire story you are about to hear is purely fictional, created for entertainment purposes. Yet sometimes fictional stories make people wonder whether somewhere in the darkness, something still exists that humanity would rather forget. I was born in Phuoc Commune, Tay Son District, Binh Dinh Province, a place so peaceful that at night you could hear the wind brushing through bamboo hedges as clearly as a whisper in your ear. For more than 20 years, I never believed in ghosts, until the night Mr. Tran Van Hung died in the well behind his house. From that night on, no one in my neighborhood ever dared to look straight at that old well after dark again. The Tran family's house stood at the far end of Dong Hamlet. An old 3-compartment tile-roofed house, weathered yet the largest in the area. The walls had faded, the roof tiles were thick with green moss, and behind the house was an ancient laterite stone well beside a towering tropical almond tree so wide that 3 adults couldn't encircle it with their arms. When we were kids, we used to run around that yard playing hide and seek. But as we grew older, without anyone saying a word, we all began avoiding the place. Every time we stood near the well, an icy sensation crept from the soles of our feet up our spines, even under the blazing midday sun. Mr. Hung was respected throughout the commune. He owned the largest general store and lent money to locals at very low interest rates. Many families escaped poverty thanks to him, so people often said the Tran family had accumulated virtue over generations. The incident happened on the death anniversary of Mr. Hung's father. From early morning, the yard was packed with guests. The clinking of bowls and chopsticks mixed with the scent of incense and braised pork, creating the warm, familiar atmosphere of a countryside memorial feast. I came over to help set up the canopy and stayed until nightfall. By then, liquor was flowing freely, laughter grew louder, and the night breeze carried the damp smell of earth after an afternoon rain, making the air slightly cold. Around 10 o'clock, Mr. Hung stood up, his face flushed from alcohol, and staggered toward the back of the house. Everyone knew that when he was drunk, he would scoop water from the well to splash over his head to sober up. So no one paid attention. Time passed slowly. The voices inside grew quieter as Mrs. Lan kept glancing nervously toward the yard. The darkness behind the house seemed thick, swallowing the light spilling out from inside. "Quan, go see where your father is," she whispered, gripping the hem of her shirt. I followed Min Quan outside, suddenly uneasy. The wind howled, almond leaves scraping against each other with a dry, rasping sound like fingernails dragging across a roof. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness, sweeping across the wet ground before stopping at the well. The stone cover had been pushed aside. I heard Quan's breathing quicken as he leaned over and shone the light down. The scream that followed felt like it crushed my heart. Mr. Hung's body floated near the surface. His eyes were wide open. His skin was unnaturally pale. But the most horrifying part was his swollen abdomen, bloated as if he had been dead for days, though he had been gone less than an hour. A thick, rotten stench rose from the well, choking me. I turned away and vomited onto the ground. Neighbors rushed over, flashlights flickering around the well's rim, their voices trembling in frightened whispers. "He just died. Why does the body smell so bad?" someone muttered, hand shaking over their mouth. The police later concluded that he had slipped while drunk and fallen into the well. It was ruled an accident. But 3 days after the funeral, fear truly began. An elderly neighbor claimed she saw a young woman in a white traditional dress sitting on the edge of the well at midnight. Her voice trembled as she recounted it. She kept scooping water, then pouring it back into the well, over and over. I thought she was alive, but I couldn't hear any footsteps. At first, no one believed her. Then, after a light rain, the well water mysteriously rose. It was crystal clear, yet ice cold and faintly smelled of blood. That night, as I lay in bed, I heard the sound of dripping water from behind the Tran house. Drip, drip, steady and relentless. I went to the window. Under the pale moonlight, a white figure sat on the well's rim. Long hair covered her face. She lifted a wooden dipper, poured water back into the well slowly, then repeated the motion like part of some strange ritual. My heart pounded painfully in my chest. And then, her head slowly turned toward me. I couldn't see her face, only darkness beneath the curtain of hair. A freezing chill ran down my spine as I realized, whatever it was staring directly at me, even though an entire courtyard separated us. And in the very next second, it stood up. I thought I was mistaken, because no human being could stand up like that. Its body barely moved at all, just a white mass slowly rising straight up from the mouth of the well, as if something beneath the water were lifting it. The wind stopped abruptly. No more rustling almond leaves. No more insects. The entire courtyard sank into a suffocating silence. I wanted to shut the window, but my hands were stiff. My eyes locked on the figure standing beside the well. It turned its head toward the Tran house. Long hair hung down, hiding its face. The white dress was soaked, clinging tightly to a thin, gaunt body. I could clearly hear water dripping onto the ground, drop by drop, even from that distance. Then it began to move, not walking like a normal person, but gliding. Its feet barely touched the ground as it drifted across the yard, through the darkness, and stopped at the back door of the house. My heart pounded so violently my ears rang. The back door was closed. Yet the white figure continued forward, and vanished right before my eyes, dissolving into the air. I stumbled back, yanked the curtains shut. I didn't sleep that night. The dripping sound continued until nearly dawn, steady, patient, as if someone were calmly repeating the same task for hours. The next morning, the entire neighborhood began whispering. Mrs. Land looked completely different. Her face was pale greenish, dark circles under her eyes as if she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was disheveled, unusual for someone normally meticulous. When I stopped by to check on her, she just sat staring toward the backyard, eyes hollow. "Did anyone go to the well last night?" she asked hoarsely, lips trembling. Before I could answer, she lowered her head and muttered, hands twisting together. It stood outside the window, looking at me, completely soaked. A chill slid down my spine. The lingering scent of funeral incense still hung in the house, mixing with dampness and making the air heavy. Min Quan stepped out from the bedroom, his face tense. "Mom keeps saying she sees someone outside the window. We thought she was just overwhelmed," he said, shoulders sagging. From that day on, Mrs. Land began behaving strangely. During the day she seemed normal, but once evening fell, she grew silent, often staring toward the well as if waiting for someone. Several nights, people saw her open the back door and stand outside for long stretches, head bowed as though listening to someone speak. One evening, Knock ran to my house, face drained of color, breath frantic. "Please, Mom's at the well again." We rushed over. Pale moonlight washed the yard in a dreamlike haze. Mrs. Land stood at the edge of the well, back to us, hair falling across half her face. What froze my blood was that she was speaking to empty air. "Father, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," she whispered. No one stood there. Yet she nodded, as if hearing a reply. Knock burst into tears and ran to pull her mother back. Mrs. Land whipped her head around. Her eyes were completely unfamiliar, pupils dilated wide in a terrifying stare. I had never seen eyes so cold. "Don't pull me, it's waiting," she said, her voice suddenly deeper, hoarse and distorted. We had to drag her inside. That night, the well began making sounds again, louder, heavier, like something stirring violently beneath the water. Near midnight, Min Hoi came home late from tutoring. As he crossed the backyard, he froze. Later, he told us that when he opened the gate, he saw a young woman in a white dress standing beside the well. Her back to him, the wind lifted her hair slightly, revealing a neck pale and bloated like a corpse long submerged. Thinking she was a stranger, he called out, "Hey, what are you doing there?" The girl slowly turned around. There was no face, only a deep black void beneath strands of wet hair. Hoi stumbled backward in panic, but the figure walked past him, straight into the house. The door did not open. There was no sound. It simply passed through like smoke and vanished near the ancestral altar. Hoi rushed inside shouting. The family turned on every light, but found nothing. From that night on, no one dared to sleep alone. The atmosphere inside the Tran house became unbearably oppressive. A faint metallic stench lingered everywhere, especially near the altar. Sometimes, standing inside, I felt as though I were at the edge of the well itself, cold breath against the back of my neck, goosebumps rising across my skin. The breaking point came on the 7th night after Mr. Hung's death. Around 2 in the morning, screams shattered the silence and jolted the entire neighborhood awake. When I ran over, Min Quan and Nok were struggling to restrain Mrs. Lan in the middle of the house. She was strangling Hoi, her fingers clamped tight around his throat, veins bulging with horrifying strength for someone so thin. Hoi's face turned purple, legs kicking helplessly. "You must die in his place, die for father," she snarled. Eyes rolled back. Quan lunged forward but was thrown aside, crashing into the ancestral cabinet. Nok screamed, trying to pry her mother's hands away, only to be shoved down. Several neighbors and I rushed in. It took 4 grown men to pull her off. At that exact moment, Mrs. Lan lifted her head, and I swear the eyes looking out were no longer human. Inside them, it felt as though someone else was staring through. And from her throat came a hoarse, wet laugh, cold and hollow, like an echo rising from the bottom of a deep well. The laughter that burst from Mrs. Lan's throat made all of us freeze in place. It was not the sound of an ordinary woman. It resembled someone who had been submerged in water for far too long, hoarse, broken, each burst accompanied by a damp, fetid breath that made the air inside the house feel unbearably heavy. Hoi lay on the floor coughing violently, clutching his neck. Dark bruises in the shape of fingers were already forming. Min Quan stood trembling in front of his younger brother, staring at his mother as if she were a complete stranger. "Mom, please wake up, it's us." His voice cracked, hands shaking uncontrollably. Mrs. Lan did not respond. Her head tilted at an unnatural angle, the corner of her mouth slowly curling upward. I had the chilling sensation that someone else was looking at us from inside her body. The temperature in the room suddenly dropped, though every door was shut tight. The oil lamp on the ancestral altar flickered wildly, shadows stretching across the walls in distorted shapes that seemed to move on their own. Then Mrs. Lan laughed louder, her arms thrashing through the air. "It's not finished, not finished," she dragged out the last words, the final note hissing like water rushing through stone cracks. At that moment, dogs began howling frantically outside. A powerful gust of wind slammed the back door against the wall. The metallic stench from the well surged into the house, thick and suffocating. I glanced toward the yard and swore that, for a split second, I saw a white figure standing in the middle of the courtyard, hair whipping in the wind, motionless, staring into the house. Min Quan nearly broke down. "Call Master Ba, please, get him here now." His voice faltered with desperation. Neighbors rushed to fetch Master Ba, the only spiritual practitioner in Tay Sun whom locals believed could handle matters of the unseen. About 30 minutes later, A motorbike stopped at the gate. An elderly man entered, short, slightly hunched, carrying a worn cloth bag. As soon as he stepped into the yard, he paused, staring toward the well for a long moment, his expression darkening. "Something has followed you home," he said quietly, his voice heavy. He did not enter immediately. Instead, he pulled out a handful of salt and scattered it around the doorway. The air shifted at once, an eerie stillness, as though something had retreated. Inside, Mrs. Lan was crouched on the floor, hair covering her face, body trembling in small, rhythmic shudders. Master Ba studied her carefully, then exhaled deeply. "This is not the spirit of the recently dead. This resentment is old," he said, his tone firm. Suddenly Mrs. Lan lifted her head, eyes rolled back white. "Don't interfere, it belongs to me." The distorted voice forced its way out, her lips twitching uncontrollably. Master Ba said nothing. He removed a thin rattan switch from his bag and stepped forward. The air felt dense. My ears rang as though I were submerged underwater. When the switch cracked sharply against the floor, Mrs. Lan screamed violently, her back arching as if yanked by an invisible force. "Leave this body," Master Ba commanded, eyes cold and unwavering. The switch struck again. Her scream became inhuman, gurgling, choking, as if she were drowning. Suddenly she doubled over and vomited violently. Thick black liquid spilled across the floor, reeking so foul that several of us staggered back, covering our noses. Mixed within it were strands of long, soaked hair. Nok sobbed uncontrollably. Hoi pressed himself against the wall, shaking. Master Ba murmured something under his breath, gripping Mrs. Lan's forehead firmly. After several minutes, her body went limp and collapsed. Silence fell, broken only by our ragged breathing. Mrs. Lan slowly opened her eyes. They looked normal again. Tears streamed down her face. "It was standing inside the house. It was watching me," she whispered weakly. Trembling, Master Ba turned toward the ancestral altar. He examined it carefully, adjusting each framed photograph. Suddenly he paused at an old portrait that had been placed face down behind the incense bowl. He lifted it slowly, brushed away a thin layer of dust, his expression darkening. "Why was this photograph turned face down?" he asked gravely. No one answered. Min Quan shook his head. "We don't know, it must have been like that for a long time." Master Ba held the photograph under the light. It showed a young woman in an old traditional dress. Her face was gentle, yet her eyes carried a strange, haunting sadness. The moment Mrs. Lan saw the image, she recoiled in terror, clutching her head. Don't let her look at me," she cried, tears streaming. The air grew colder again. The oil lamp swayed violently though there was no wind. Master Ba turned to us, voice low and grave. "Someone in this family died unjustly in that well, didn't they?" No one dared answer at first. The only sound was heavy breathing filling the room. Finally, through tears, Mrs. Lan spoke. "It was Aunt Ba, grandfather's sister. They said she hanged herself, but no one ever found her body." Master Ba closed his eyes for a long moment, then opened them. "She did not hang herself," he said, his voice chillingly calm. "She was buried alive, beneath that well." The entire house fell into absolute silence. Outside, the wind rose again, almond leaves scraping together with a long, piercing hiss. And at that exact moment, from behind the house came the violent splash of water, like someone had filled a dipper to the brim and poured it forcefully back into the depths of the well. Master Ba spun toward the door, his face changing. "It knows we remember now." After Master Ba said that, no one in the Tran household dared to look toward the well again. The air felt so heavy that I had the sense even raising my voice might provoke whatever was lingering there. The sound of water we had just heard still echoed in my mind, clear, slow, identical to what I had been hearing for nights. Master Ba walked straight to the backyard, holding a bundle of half-burned incense sticks, smoke swirling thickly in the cold wind. We followed, but stopped several steps away from the well. Moonlight poured down onto its mouth, the water below reflecting a pale glow like an open eye staring upward. Master Ba leaned over and stared for a long time before tossing a handful of rice mixed with salt into the well. Instantly, the surface rippled violently despite the absence of wind. A surge of icy air rose upward, sending chills across my entire body. "It's still down there, it hasn't left," he said in a low voice, tension in his eyes. Min Quan swallowed hard behind him. "Master, did it kill my father?" he asked, hands clenched. Master Ba did not answer immediately. His gaze drifted across the yard, settling on the old tropical almond tree whose exposed roots twisted like skeletal fingers. After a moment, he spoke slowly. "It did not kill him, it is reclaiming what should have been repaid long ago." The wind intensified, leaves scattered into the well. I caught the scent of damp soil mixed with that same metallic odor from the night Mr. Hung's body was discovered. Master Ba told the others to return inside, keeping only Quan, Nok, Hoi, and me. He placed the incense on the ground and began asking about the Tran lineage, especially the woman named Ba in the photograph. No one knew much, only vague memories that long ago, a young woman in the family had died early. Her name rarely spoken, as if it were taboo. Mrs. Lan, still pale, leaned against the wall and spoke softly, almost fearfully. "When I first married into this family, my mother-in-law told me never to go near the well at night. She said it wasn't clean down there." The statement seemed to lower the temperature of the room. Master Ba nodded gravely. "This is not just a well, it is a grave." No one spoke after that. Suddenly, from outside came a dull knocking sound, like a dipper striking stone. All of us turned at once. The noise clearly came from the well, though no one was out there. Hui's face drained of color. "A few nights ago, I saw her walk into the house. She stood right by the altar," he whispered. Master Ba approached the altar again, lit more incense, and planted it firmly into the ash. The smoke rose thickly, then abruptly tilted toward the back door as if drawn by an unseen force. He followed the direction of the smoke and said quietly, "She doesn't want to leave, because no one has apologized to her." A silence stretched across the room. Since Mr. Hung's death, everything had revolved around the well and the forgotten woman. Master Ba said that at dawn we would have to visit the Tran family cemetery. The resentment did not lie only in the well, it was tied to disturbances of ancestral graves in the past. That night, no one slept. We gathered in the center of the house with the lights on. Around 3 in the morning, the water sound returned, not dripping this time, but the unmistakable rhythm of water being drawn. Slow and deliberate, I glanced at the back door and saw reflections of rippling water trembling across the floor, though the door remained shut. Nok clutched her brother's arm. "It's here again, isn't it?" No one answered. The sound of scooping stopped abruptly. Then came the noise of wet footsteps on the porch. Step by step, slow, dragging, as though someone had just climbed out of the well. The cold seeped into the house until our breath turned into faint mist. The back door trembled. A creaking sound followed. The door opened slightly, though no one touched it. I saw the courtyard soaked, and clear wet footprints leading inward. No one stood there. Yet the footprints continued appearing, one after another, moving straight toward the ancestral altar. Mrs. Lan collapsed to the floor, sobbing, I'm sorry. At that exact moment, every incense stick on the altar flared up simultaneously, then extinguished at once. The house fell into darkness for a brief second. When the lights flickered back on, the wet footprints had vanished. But across the floor remained a long streak of water stretching from the back door to the foot of the altar, as though someone had stood there for a very long time. Master Ba tightened the prayer beads in his hand, his expression more severe than ever. "It does not only want to be remembered," he said quietly, "it wants the truth unearthed. And in the morning, we would have to go to the cemetery, because, according to him, whatever lay buried beneath the soil was the true reason that restless spirit could not find peace." I stood frozen in the pitch-black hallway, feeling as if the house itself were breathing against the back of my neck. Waves of icy air crawled down my spine, numbing my scalp. The flashlight trembled in my hand, its beam revealing peeling walls covered in long, jagged scratches, exactly like fingernail marks clawed in desperation. The longer I stared, the more I realized the scratches were not old. They were fresh. The dust around them had been recently disturbed, as if only hours ago someone had tried to claw their way out. The air was thick with mildew and the stagnant tang of old water. Yet beneath it lingered a scent so familiar it made my stomach twist. Half-burned incense from a memorial night years ago. The night my best friend vanished without a trace. I swallowed hard, my throat dry, telling myself this was only imagination fueled by darkness. Then, behind me, the wooden floor creaked, soft, slow, as though someone were tiptoeing after me. I spun around, the beam slicing through floating dust. The hallway behind me was empty. Only the door I had closed moments ago trembled slightly, as if brushed by unseen fingers. My heart pounded so violently my ears rang. In the suffocating silence, I heard breathing, not mine, but heavy, close to my right side. A freezing current brushed past my ear. "Don't turn around," a hoarse whisper breathed against my neck. "It's watching you." I swung the flashlight again. The wall stood bare, but my shadow on it lagged behind by a fraction of a second, its arm still raised though mine had already lowered. I went rigid. The shadow slowly tilted its head in a movement that did not belong to me, stretching unnaturally as if something had grabbed its neck and yanked it downward. The flashlight flickered, the battery crackled weakly. From the wall ahead came a faint laugh. A buried memory jolted awake. Years ago, before he disappeared, Hoy had said this house doesn't let anyone leave intact. Back then, I thought he was joking. Now I wasn't sure. I forced myself forward. Each step felt as though I were wading through invisible mud. The hallway stretched endlessly, though from outside the house was never that large. The ceiling seemed lower. Cobwebs brushed my hair. Then the beam struck a crooked picture frame. Dust coated the glass, yet the image was clear. 4 of us standing in front of this house, Hoy, myself, and 2 others who had long since moved away. What stole my breath was the 5th figure behind us, taller than the rest. Face blurred, standing directly behind me. None of us had seen it that day. My hand shook as I wiped the glass. The blurred face sharpened slowly. Hollow black eyes stared straight at me. "Do you remember now?" a voice whispered behind me, trembling with resentment. "You were the one who opened the door." I turned instinctively. At the end of the hallway stood a figure. Back facing me, clothes drenched, water dripped steadily onto the floor, forming a dark trail. The silhouette was achingly familiar. "Hoy," my voice failed me. The figure did not turn fully, only tilted its head at an impossible angle. I heard the distinct crack of bone in the stillness. "Why did you come back?" the voice rasped, thick as though spoken through a throat filled with water. "We've been waiting." "We." The word drained the warmth from my body. Wet footprints appeared on the floor ahead, one by one, moving toward me though no one walked. The air thickened, suffocating. The flashlight flickered violently and died. plunging everything into complete darkness. In that dense blackness, I heard multiple breaths surrounding me, so close I felt I could touch cold skin if I reached out. "Don't turn the light on," another voice whispered desperately at my ear. "If it sees you looking, it will remember." I didn't know who it was, but instinct told me to stay still. My heart pounded. Cold sweat traced my spine. From deep within the darkness came the dragging sound of something heavy, something enormous, crawling across the wooden floor. The metallic stench intensified, nauseating. Something damp brushed my ankle. I bit my lip to keep from screaming. The sensation crawled upward, cold and slick like a hand soaked too long in water. "It found you," a distorted chuckle echoed along the corridor. In panic, I slammed the flashlight back on. The beam flared for a split second, and inches from my face was Hui's pallid expression. Eyes wide and lifeless, mouth open as if trying to speak while thick black water streamed from his throat. I stumbled backward and fell hard. The spinning beam lit the ceiling, where dozens of human shapes clung upside down, heads hanging low, all smiling the same smile. And among them, I recognized one face most clearly, my own. But its eyes were completely black. It slowly opened its mouth and whispered down at me, "This time, you'll stay in my place." At that exact moment, the entire house shook violently, as though something beneath its foundation had awakened. And suddenly I understood. On the night Hui disappeared years ago, the one who walked out of this house might not have truly been me.